Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's story is from the incredible mind of Brance from over on Reddit, No Sleep. And as ever, please do let me know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid crew. And so, with that aside, let's get into tonight's story, entitled Why the Dead Walkers Scream. Let's get straight into that. The day that my dog and I died started like any other. Up at 6 a.m. for a jog too and around Tanglewood Park. Mary, my sweet Brittany Spaniel, bounced around excitedly when I grabbed her harness and leash. I took her on after Dad died. I guess I took on jogging after he died too. A heart failure runs in the family, so I thought, as a lazy 32-year-old working in IT, on my ass a lot of the day, it might be time for me to start beating the odds. I hate running, as any normal person should, but if I have to do it, I prefer doing it outside. Well, there's something to heaving lungs full of fresh morning air, and smelling every so often dry laundry wafting from the early risers' houses. Our morning also included 3421 Westover's massive hound dog that barked at us each day. Brutus, my nickname for the beast, hung his moody paws over the gate and arped away as we ran by. Even with We Are Champions pumping him through my earbuds, Brutus made himself known. I was always afraid that he'd jump over and attack us, but he never did. Brutus melted from my thoughts when I hit my stride. I always thought the runner's high was a marketing BS, a way to get suckers to keep buying shoes, but after a few months of jogging my lazy ass around the park, I understood that wasn't the case. It's astounding the stress that a body can endure when you're in the right headspace. If you've never experienced it, I recommend you do. It's one of the greatest drug-free highs out there. We lapped the park 4 times, led her under 5 miles and cooled down on a walk home. Brutus's owner was out watering a dead spot in the front yard. He decided it was a good idea to leave the side gate open. You know, Brutus's poorest, while he watered the front yard with a hose from the back. I'm sure he thought, I'll leave it that way for a few minutes. Brutus never bolts. Brutus, seeing that he was unhindered by his usual barrier, made a break for us. I caught him as a grey flash just out the corner of my left eye. I jerked Mary to the far side of the street. Mr. 3421 Westover yelled, "Heel!" Brutus skidded to a stop and promptly returned to his owner. Good boy, I guess. And so it wasn't Brutus that killed us, or at least not directly. The prize for that goes to a hit-and-run all-star named Brad Hightower and his Ford F-250. Apparently, it slept past his alarm and was in a hurry to get to work. In court, he said he thought he'd hit a speed bump. I'm sure Mary's skull felt as negligible as stepping on a grape when he crunched over it. On the other hand, it would have been incredibly hard to mistake for anything but a body. Thankfully, Brad left plenty of evidence lodged in me. A tire tread on my legs, plastic in my back. I left a little something on his truck too. The investigators pulled plenty of blood-matted hair from his grill. That dying is probably the easiest thing that ever happened to me. I guess I'm a natural. Instead of coming in front of a large, cloud-swaddled golden gate in heaven, or being reincarnated as something nice like a ladybug, the moment my spirit, or essence, or whatever the hell you want to call it, expired. I was walking down the center of an unending, one-way residential street in any town, USA. It took me a few hours to realize that something was up, even more time to remember dying. My brain was foggy, like I was coming down off a weed high, so I was dumbly content to make my way down the street. And in those early moments, I felt I could have walked for years. That cursory glance down at my feet shattered my contentment. I was naked, and seeing my man-bits freely bouncing about is what finally snapped me out of my daze. Jesus Christ, I thought. Shame and fear washed through, and I bolted my hands down to cover up and jerked my head around expecting to be tackled by a police officer or called a pervert by a gaggle of women but I was alone. I tried to stop walking, but my body simply ignored any resistance. The harder I tried to stop, the more evident it became that my legs were being manipulated by some invisible hand. I tried to push myself left, then right, to no avail. I was stuck in motion on a set path headed to God knows where. The only feeling I had was in my feet. I registered the weight of each forced footfall as they pushed into and away from the street. All other feelings were zilcho. No heat from the sun, which, even after plenty of time walking, stayed directly overhead. No wind, no sound. It grated your nerves after a while. When I finally accepted the situation, I could take in my surroundings. It felt like one of those scenes in post-apocalyptic movies where the hero wakes up from a coma in an abandoned city. He walks through the streets looking for signs of life, only to find ghosts of the past. Lonely cars and empty houses in various levels of disrepair, along with the uncanny feeling of something lurking just out of view. I never found survivors, or zombies, or vampires. It was always just me, walking alone. At least that's what I thought, until I caught sight of human-like shadows surrounding me, reflected in the large picture window of a white ranch-style house. I twitched my head to the left, expecting to see a crowd of wisps. But there was nothing but a red brick house, and with a black Honda Accord and white F-150 work truck parked in front of it. As seeing the Ford logo, I dislodged the memory of my death. Holy shit, I'm dead. Huh? My words were heavy and muffled, detached from reality. They seemed to trail behind me as I moved onward. If I'm dead, then were those shadows I saw other dead people, sad sacks like myself, headed down this long road to nowhere? Or do we get somewhere? I began searching for a reflective surface that offered a clearer, closer look at my cohort. And reflected off a black Suburban, I could see the dead walkers were clearly human, but made of black fog or smoke. Even as misty apparitions, those closest to me were identifiable. Men, women, and kids of different sizes, all in their birthday suits. I could see noses in profile, swinging arms, breasts and penises. And... wait, was that one screaming? I tried to get a better look, but had just run out of Suburban. The man looked eerily like the subject of Edvard Munch's The Scream. More stretched wide in agony, hands clasped over his ears. The wisps of black mist almost looked like brushstrokes. It might be beautiful in the right context. This, sure as shit, wasn't the right context. I looked for the screamer next chance I got, but never saw him again. Maybe I mistook the scream for a yawn or something. Besides, I didn't think pain was supposed to be a thing in the afterlife. Or if only that were the case. I spent the next hour, a ballpark without clocks or a moving sun, trying to reach out to my fellow dead walkers. I tried to bang on a Subaru Outback parked halfway onto the sidewalk, but my hands, they just flowed through it with a resistance that felt a bit like water. And my next idea was dumb, but ended up working. Or at least for a minute. I turned my torso and flailed my arms around like one of those car sales inflatables. And surely that would catch someone's eye. I imagined God or Satan or whoever was watching got a kick out of my imbecilic attempts at communication. Sick freak. I spent about 15 minutes waving my body around, each curbside car a large front-facing window. I had just about given up when I saw a woman flailing along with me by a Suburban. Finally, based on her stature and the fact that she had breasts, I assumed she was probably a 20 or 30-year-old woman. But, of course, wispy anthropomorphs aren't exactly easy to identify with any certainty. She pumped her arms into the air with excitement, and I did the same. Finally, a fucking connection. And the Suburban we communicated through ran out before we could do much other than celebrate. I looked down the endless road for our next opportunity to reconnect. There was a Camry 100 yards away. It was the longest stretch of time so far. Like waiting to go see what Santa left you on Christmas morning. I scanned the windows for my new dead friend. She was gone. I looked again, cashing in the last of my hope. Another screamer. And I couldn't avoid it this time. They were too far back in the crowd to discern the gender, but they were not in a good way. Tensed in pain, silently screaming, clawing helplessly at the head, the chest, the legs. I was happy to run out of Camry. I'd seen too much. And with all the excitement, I'd been able to ignore the pain in my feet, but staring ahead at the horrific endlessness before me, trying to forget what I'd just seen. It became all I could focus on. Blisters in the afterlife. What a fucking joke. That thought, coupled with what I just witnessed, hit my funny bone in a way I wasn't expecting. My laughter filled my chest and spilled into the dead world around me. And once my manic episode ended, I attempted to check my feet, but my legs, well, they wouldn't comply. The invisible hand held firm. Screw you, asshole. I screamed into the sky, both middle fingers raised. I then twisted my neck over my shoulder to see if I could get a look on my foot's upswing. Yeesh. Blisters had already formed and burst since I started walking. Blood and plasma coated the raw skin, and the surrounding tissue was an angry strawberry red. Both feet, well, they were fucked, but the pain was manageable. For now, at least. It was time for a brainstorming session. Questions that had been queued up in my subconscious spilled out. Has there been a pattern to the things I've been seeing? Was everybody's dead walk the same? Surely not, right? And how does this work for amputees, paraplegics, and those with intellectual disabilities? Are the rules different for them? And when the walk ends, if it even does, what then? Heaven, hell, rebirth, reincarnation? Why, ignore it. Most of the questions ping-ponging around. Do dead walkers even have brains? Will go unanswered. But I figured a few things out while my feet slowly grated themselves into the gravel. A few hours after my run-in with the screamer, I came across a familiar sight. The F-150 that reminded me of my demise showed up again, in front of the same red brick house, and with the same black Accord in the driveway. The only difference was, it was on the opposite side of the road, an exact mirror of where it had been. And where before the Accord was parked on the left of the driveway, it was now on the right. The truck, the house's windows, were all flipped too. It seemed strange that the great and powerful, whoever holding in this hellhole, would be so utterly uncreative. But maybe there's more to it. There's got to be. Oh, my feet are warm and wet. I couldn't be blood though. I'm dead. I shifted my focus to the houses themselves, scouring for anything that would affirm the theory I'd begun considering. And sure enough, down the road, I found 3421 Westover. Brutus's paw rest, the small dead spot in the grass. It was all there, perfectly recreated. I half expected a Brutus Cerberus hybrid to leap over the house and devour me. Insult to injury, a parting gift from the gods. And I would have welcomed it. My feet were getting harder to ignore. But there was no Cerberus, just a house and some cars. Just a house and some cars. So what? A little pain is fine. It's just like a runner's high. Push through. God damn it. I was certain of my theory when I saw my childhood friend Grayson's house. The bright red front door, the small garden at Grayson, and I hidden when we played 007 after watching GoldenEye at the Dollar Theatre down the road. We ruined his dad's hydrangeas that day. His mum's Pontiac Bonneville and his dad's red Chevy pickup, just as I remembered it. If I look, I'll lose it. Gotta stay focused. I realized then that I'd furnished this place, or my psyche did. All the houses I'd lived in, played in, passed on the street, all there. I didn't explain the other walkers I'd come across, or the pain in my feet I could no longer wish away, but it did give me a small amount of comfort, a little hope even, something in my control. but the pain, overriding, all-encompassing, complete. I was beginning to understand why the screamers screamed. I looked back at the soles of my feet. My God. Glistening gore had replaced the bloody blisters, and a few black bits of asphalt were embedded in the shredded mess. And bloody footsteps were visible as far back as I could see. And with that, I snapped, and the pain I'd been holding back rushed in, unrelenting. My self-control unwound into wailing. Early on, it was a comfort to know I'd die from blood loss, but it wouldn't stop flowing, gallons upon gallons of blood. Screaming, gnashing, flailing, hours, days, weeks, months, years of screaming. No thoughts, just agony. Can't stop. It won't let me stop. Why? My body obliterated itself from the feet up, flesh to bone, bone to bloody mush on the pavement. Oh God, make it stop. Inch by inch, I scraped myself into the ground. Endless blood, endless torture. And just below my knees, bone to concrete. Then, something other than pain for the first time in what seemed like years. A warm jolt through my chest. Confusion and pain and something else. Hands roaming and prodding, body shifting with each turn of the speeding ambulance. And still, pain. Too much pain. A siren. A mechanical beep, beep, beep. Rattling equipment. 2 men and a woman barking at each other. Holy shit, we got a heartbeat. Johnson? The bleeding. Under control, but only just. Harvey, ETA. Half these fucking idiots will pull over. 10 minutes. Come on, come on, come on. Hold on a little longer. I soon slipped into a blanket of darkness. Warm, safe, painless unconsciousness. It was weeks before I came to. I don't remember it, but Dr. Ryan, my psychiatrist, told me I lost it when I first saw they'd amputated my legs. They had to restrain me and jog me up even more than I already was. He said I kept saying, don't let me die. I can't go back, until the sedative kicked in. Dr. Ryan made me write this. He doesn't believe me, of course. Man of science, and all that. He thinks I'm delusional, and that the whole thing was my subconscious's way of processing the trauma. This assignment in his attempt at rehabilitation. Bullshit. I know better. But Dr. Ryan did do one thing right. He prescribed me a therapy dog. And I saw Marty for the first time the other day. He's a yellow lab, fresh out of medical support training, and one of the best things in my life right now. With prosthetics and a shitload of therapy, I hope to take him for a walk one day. I've already found others like me online, dead walkers who were brought back. One says he traced mentions of dead walking back to about 1,000 years ago, and says he may have some solutions for when we all inevitably go back. And I sure as hell hope he's right. Wow. Certainly another one. Wow. What an absolutely fantastic psychological horror that was. As ever, a huge thank you to the author, Brance Davis, from over on Reddit, No Sleep. I really enjoyed your work, and of course, I hope you enjoy my rendition. I look forward to more of your work in the future. Well, guys and girls as ever, you know the drill. Please do let me know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid Crew. Now if you're an aspiring writer, then please do get in touch with me with the contact email, which is as on screen. contactthedeadone@gmail.com. I really look forward to hearing from you. As ever, guys and girls, I hope you're all well and happy, fighting fit, and starting this brand new year with a bang. And remember, be safe, not sorry.